outskirts of Jerusalem, on the Mount of Olives, within view of the city walls. By the end of the scene, the crowd of peasants has swarmed in through the eastern gates of Jerusalem, followed by a man riding on a donkey. The people are waving branches, throwing their coats on the ground in front of the donkey and singing loud hosannas so that those already gathered in the city ask one another, "Who is this?" Now, tone of voice is everything here. Some of them may really have been asking, who does this man think he is? Because you see, a man on a donkey meant something to the residents of Jerusalem and the surrounding lands. All the Jews there would have recognized this reference to the prophet Zechariah, who declared that the Messiah, the anointed one, the king who would reunite all of Israel, the Prince of Peace, would arrive not on a war horse, but humble and riding on a donkey. So when Jesus rides into town mounted on a colt, it is like someone riding into Westport dressed in a jolly red suit and sitting in a sled pulled by reindeer. We'd all know that the man was trying to be Santa Claus, and those pre-Passover crowds all knew that Jesus was acting out those verses about the coming of a Messiah. The question that hung in the air and flew from mouth to mouth along the crowded streets of Jerusalem was this: is this man acting like a Messiah? Some upstart engaged in a little street theater a la Bertolt Brecht? Or is he actually fulfilling Zechariah's prophecy? Who is this? Now, all through Lent, we've been exploring that question through the eyes of a Pharisee named Nicodemus and an unnamed Samaritan woman at the well, a man born blind, and three of Jesus' closest friends, Mary and Martha and Lazarus, the latter of whom Jesus actually raised from the dead. And through their stories, we have learned that Jesus calls us to be born anew, as he said to Nicodemus. He offers living water, in his words to the Samaritan woman. And he comes to reveal God's glory, to make it vivid, palpable, as he did when he restored the sight of a blind man and raised Lazarus from the dead. To the Pharisee, Nicodemus, Jesus was the one who calls us to relinquish control and put all our trust in God. To the Samaritan woman, he was the one who welcomed her questions and assured her that God is bigger than all our answers. To the man born blind, he was the one who announced that God works through all of us, not just the apparently perfect or pious. And to Mary, he was the one who promised that suffering and death need not be our undoing. To all of them, he was the one who looked in their eyes and declared them worthy of love and belonging, beloved children of God, every one. So it's easy for me to imagine that the Samaritan woman was somewhere in that Palm Sunday crowd, and the man born blind. Surely Mary, Martha, and Lazarus would have been there too, waving their palms along with so many others whose lives had been utterly transformed by their encounters with Jesus. And Nicodemus, that skeptical Pharisee who visited Jesus by night, although surely he would not have joined the march of rabble-rousers, he may have watched from a distance, made note of Jesus' conduct, and calculated the cost. You see, Jesus' behavior was not just dramatic, it was seditious. To those in power, the Jewish authorities and their Roman supervisors, this man was a political threat. While Jesus was riding into town on that donkey, invoking a prophecy about the arrival of a king, there was another procession entering by the west gates, a procession of Roman soldiers, orderly and mounted on fine steeds, sent by the emperor to maintain order during the Passover, when Jerusalem became crowded with Jewish pilgrims. No wonder the whole city was in turmoil. No wonder the people trembled in their sandals. They expected a showdown between the Roman Empire and this man who had worked wonders and proclaimed the coming of a new reign, the reign of God. To those who laid their coats and palms at his feet that day, Jesus was the one who might finally liberate them from the Roman oppression. He was the long-awaited Messiah. As it turns out, things didn't go exactly as they had imagined. Because in the end, Jesus wasn't the Messiah that any of them expected him to be. Jesus came to judge, not to judge, but to save the whole world. That's what he told Nicodemus during that late-night conversation, and later his own disciples. I have come not to judge, but to save the whole world. That's not necessarily what they wanted from him, what any of us wants when we've suffered injustice. We might like him to smite our enemies, to show them what for. We might prefer that he run for federal office, or the school board, or the Board of Finance and set things straight. We might want him to overturn other people's tables, but never our own. To do all the work without breaking a sweat, and then to stand on the fallen backs of our adversaries and plant the victory flag. When we are feeling put down and put out, it is tempting to lay all our expectations at the feet of strength and witty comebacks, glory and might. That's the kind of Messiah we just might imagine, but Jesus refused to be that Messiah. Still refuses. Because that's not who he was. He was neither a magician nor a military commander, neither a superhero nor a perfect political candidate. He wouldn't snap his fingers and fix all the messes we've made, nor pull a Houdini to escape his own unfolding fate. He was faithful, both courageous and compassionate, true to his purpose, to God and to God's people, to the very end. To all of us, he is the reminder that new life only ever emerges on the far side of suffering. To start over, something always has to die, perhaps beginning with our own expectations. Which leads me to ask another question, not just who is this, but who are we? Having heard the stories, witnessed the signs, confronted the risks, who are we this Palm Sunday? Are we people who have been touched in some way by this man, Jesus? How has your heart been stirred? Your eyes opened, your hopes raised? How has your imagination been ignited or your own life transformed? This, my friends, is the week to tell your story. To add your voice to the voices of the Samaritan woman and the man born blind, Nicodemus and Mary. This is your invitation to join the crowd, to compare notes with those around you, to ask again and again, who is this? And then to respond, saying, here's who this man, Jesus, teacher, rabble-rouser, prophet, healer, Messiah, has been to me. No doubt, your response is a work in progress. So is mine. But here's the beginning of my own response, inspired and informed by this journey through Lent. Here is the hope that compels me to wave my palm branches and throw my coat at his feet. Jesus is the one whose coming means that compassion is returning to a world bereft of kindness. That children will finally get their due even though they're too young to vote. Jesus is the one who will end the tyranny of greed and abuse of our natural world, who will wipe from the face of the earth weapons of mass destruction, including chemical weapons. Better yet, will make a world in which no one will ever again have the heart to use them. Jesus is the one who will banish hunger and quench thirst and swallow up hate forever in love. That is the Jesus I know, the one who stirs my heart. But here's the thing, that Jesus is coming also means that my own expectations will be toppled and my own life transformed. Because whoever Jesus is will invariably change whoever I am, whoever we are. Knowing that, I step out into the crowd, praying that this march will make me just a little more compassionate, a little more courageous, a little more able to share the world's suffering as Jesus was determined to share the world's suffering. This, my friends, is no easy prospect. Still, I know that I am in good company. A little uncertain, like Nicodemus, a bit curious, like the Samaritan woman, thankful, like the man born blind, and hopeful, like Mary. With them, I join the crowd. I lift my voice, and I pray. I watch and I wait for all that I might expect and all that I possibly cannot expect. Will you join me on this walk towards Jerusalem? May it be so. Amen.